Dr. Aniruddha Malpani, sir. Dr. Aniruddha Malpani, sir, is an IVF specialist who passed out from Bombay University, winning over 20 gold medals during his academic career. His clinic attracts patients from all over the world. He has founded the world's largest free patient education library named Health. He has authored many books, including How to Get the Best Medical Care, Successful Medical Practice, Using Information Therapy to Put Patients First, etc. His passion is patient empowerment, and he believes that using information technology to deliver information therapy to patients can heal a sick healthcare system. He has pioneered the use of innovative technology to educate infertile couples using cartoon films, comic books, and e-learning modules, which is available on his website www.ivfindia.com. He is an active angel investor. He invests across all domains and admires entrepreneurs because they have the potential to change the world. With this short intro, I would like to welcome Dr. Aniruddha Malpani, sir, to talk on the topic funding and investments for healthcare technologies. Over to you, sir.
Hi, thanks so much. Can you see my slide? I'm trying to share the screen. I'd like to start with the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So I think I'm really excited about the fact that the IMA is organizing something like this, because I think part of the problem with being a medical student is that you're so focused on cramming whatever there is in the medical textbook. And there's so much to learn because you're so focused on your patients that you really end up not being able to think out of the box. And if you want to explore alternatives, and I think definitely the startup space is a huge alternative, this is the right time and place to be, as Dr. Hassan quite correctly said. But how do you start? Because even if you have all the ideas in the world, you obviously need some money. And in fact, this is one of the first things which people say, okay, great, so many new opportunities. What can I do with all these opportunities? And I'm sure, once you get into medical college, this is how you think of yourself. Superman, passed the NET. I'm one of the few of the thousands who actually applied and got in. But I can't do anything unless I have money. And that's what this focus is going to be. And that's what most young medical students, not just medical students, that's the way most entrepreneurs think. That you have this brilliant idea, you have this passion, you're willing to work hard, you put up a business plan, you go pitch to an investor, the investor gives you the money, you make the product, and you become a billionaire, right? Simple equation. Unfortunately, what usually happens is the first time you pitch, this is the standard answer. And it's not the first time, it's the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, and the 100th time. And then this is what Superman actually ends up becoming, that no matter how smart you are, and you got A grades in all your career, and you got into the best medical college in the world, as far as actually starting up, this is the position you're going to be in. So let's start from the beginning. And I think the first thing I need to emphasize is, investors are not the only source of funding. You first need to learn to be able to use your own resources. And that's what bootstrapping comes in. What does bootstrapping mean? You use your own funds. Either you do a side hustle, you moonlight, you have a wealthy father-in-law if you're lucky and who's happy to give you the money. But there are lots of other options. Please note, angels and VCs are practically last on this list. Don't forget that. The question is, you can raise money from lots of people, but if you notice, there is a particular sequence to this. If it's only an idea, please don't expect someone to write a check for you. Once you have a team, I think you then have more right to be able to say, hey, I've been able to convince other people to join me. You can talk to friends and families. You can apply for grants. And the good thing is there are lots of healthcare specialists who will give grants, especially from the government of India. Once you have a prototype, you can then actually use that to join an accelerator, start approaching people like me, angel investors and VCs, to be able to actually have a product. The most important thing is once you have users and you're generating revenue, your customers are the best source of being able to generate even more money so that you can actually get up to growth. Now, this is a very Silicon Valley slide. Let me warn you. Ideas, team, prototype, users, revenue, and profits come last. But actually, if you're bootstrapping, you've got to flip that around, especially in a country like India, where you have to grow frugally. And I think there needs to be a lot more emphasis on profits, which you can then plow in to be able to get growth. So you're not dependent on someone else to grow. What does bootstrapping mean? Unfortunately, it's not something which people talk about enough. But bootstrapping means using your own funds and not depending on anyone else to give you money in order to grow. It shows that you can implement. You have faith in yourself, because if you don't have faith in yourself, if you're not willing to put skin in the game, if you're not willing to back yourself, why do you expect investors to do this for you? Remember, your customers are your best source of funding, and it doesn't matter how little money you have. The good news is in this day and age, to be able to go live, to be able to go online, practically costs nothing. Guerrilla marketing is the way to go. And believe me, if you can get paying customers, you'll have no shortage of getting investors. The beauty about bootstrapping is you can afford to make affordable mistakes. You can learn from them so that then you can continue to grow. This is what a model is for top funding sources in the US. Please note, VCs and investors come a la third. So they're really not high up on the list. It's still bootstrapping, your own personal money, and then family and friends. And in India, I'm sure this is even truer. It's very easy to ask money from friends. You know, your mother loves you. You ask her, beta, kya chahiye tujhko? Mummy, mujhe paise chahiye. You know, I need 10 lakhs in order to do my startup. I have this brilliant idea. Your mom is not going to say no to you. She'll mostly skimp and save and get it. This is actually a big mistake. Don't take money from someone who doesn't understand how risky startups are. Don't take money from someone who doesn't understand it's going to take at least 5 to 10 years, even if you're lucky, for you to be able to give their money back. Don't take money from someone who needs to cash in their insurance policy to fund you. Don't take money as a loan because there's a very high probability you're not going to be able to pay it. You don't want to damage family relationships because you can't. And please don't give away too high a valuation because you're completely clueless and you're so grateful when anyone gives you money. And then when your rich lawyer uncle says, fine, you know, I'll give you 10 lakhs, give me 50% of your company. That's something you'll really regret in the long run. So the first thing everyone asks us is, I have this great idea. I'm this bright doctor. I want to implement this. Give me the money. And that just doesn't work. Ideas are a dime a dozen. You know, anyone who wants ideas, please reach out to me and I'll share 100 of my ideas completely for free. Ideas are really worth nothing. Please don't fall in love with your ideas. In fact, you'll find out that the more the ideas you generate, the more you'll realize how terrible most of your first ideas were. The more the ideas, the better your chance of finding a good one. Please don't worry that someone's going to steal your ideas. I have enough of my own. What I really need is people who will implement these ideas. I don't really care. And passion is necessary, but passion is not sufficient because it's easy to be passionate when everything is bright and rosy and everyone tells you, oh, you're such a smart guy. Of course, you're going to be able to do this. It's when you reach hard times, when no one's willing to give you money, when you can't pay salaries, when you can't even pay yourself. That's when you understand that passion is not sufficient. This is what most people think of VCs and investors, right? Rich fat cats, tie, boot, suit, smoking cigars, who only know how to say no. Finding investors is simple, but it's not easy, let me warn you. And therefore, you need to start off with sending cold emails. And the beauty is every serious investor has a website. And if they don't have a website, something's seriously wrong. It's easy to learn how to send cold emails. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. You can find warm introductions because people have a soft corner for doctors. People have a soft corner for medical students. People are happy to help. The trick is that you need to establish yourself as a thought leader. You need to show us that you understand what you're talking about, and then we'll be happy to come to you. Also remember one thing. The point of the first meeting, whether it's email or anything else, is only to get permission to get a second meeting. Please don't expect, I'll send an email, see how smart I am, what a brilliant idea, what a brilliant pitch. Look at all my pro forma revenue figures, and I'm going to make you a millionaire in 3 years, and someone's going to write you a check. It doesn't happen. I get at least 100 pitches a day, and I'm just an angel investor. VCs get 1,000 pitches a day, and they get them from people who are much, much smarter, much more hardworking than you are, who've created a lot more value. So don't think that you have the right to win. You need to create that right. And don't think that just because you call yourself an entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur. The world does not owe you anything. Please understand that. I don't care whether you work 10 years and whether you starved or anything else. What I need to know is what value you're going to be add to the world so that the world can then generate revenue for you. And if you can't do that, I may have a soft corner for you, but you know what? I'm not your father-in-law. I'm not going to write a check for you. You need to find investors who are relevant. So please don't spam investors and send emails to Sequoia and Matrix and everyone else just because you have an email address. You need to find out whether they're interested in your industry, whether they understand what you're doing, and whether they've invested in startups who are at the same stage you are. How do you contact potential investors? It's fine. Learn to send emails. You'll get better. Get introduced by mutual contacts. But please do your research. Please don't send generic emails. Please don't send dear sir emails. If you can't even be bothered to find out my name and my website address and at least customize that email when you send it to me, I don't even think I should be even bothered to reply back to your email. Dear sir emails, as far as I'm concerned, are a sign that you're a lazy guy and I'm really not interested in engaging with you. Please have realistic expectations. Just because you spent 6 hours writing that email, don't expect that I'm going to reply to your email within a day. We're busy. We have enough things to do. And not only am I an angel investor, I'm also happen to be an IVF doctor. So my patients will come first. And let me also tell you one thing. My first response is always no. Do you know why? Because if I say no, I don't need to engage with you any further. I can move on with my life. The moment I say yes, I have to start my process. I have to figure out, are you a good guy? Do you understand what you're talking about? You may be a doctor, but do you know enough about running a business? And therefore, my reflex, knee-jerk reflex is going to be no. And that's why you need to be a little empathetic and a little kind and understand that you need to be persistent and patient. You need to respect my time. You need to learn to empathize. Just like you expect investors to empathize with you, you need to learn to be able to empathize with investors as well. And I don't think that's asking for too much. Joining an accelerator is a great idea because you learn very quickly. Just like a medical college is a great way for doctors to learn how to become doctors, accelerators will teach entrepreneurs how to actually become investable. You learn the trade, you get access to a network, you learn from other entrepreneurs who are on the same stage, you'll be empathetic. And you get this halo effect. Hey, just like an MD degree says, yes, you know what, I'm a doctor, I'm an expert. Whether you are or not is a different issue, but at least you get that perception. Similarly, graduating from a startup gives people the perception, wow, this guy must be bright. He knows what he's talking about. Pitching is important because that's your first step. And every pitch deck, I mean, all this is easily available online. What you're doing, why you're doing it, how much money you made. So I'm not going to run through this. But I want to focus on all the mistakes. Please don't ask for an NDA. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. And lots of first-time entrepreneurs, I have such a bright idea. I'm going to create this prosthetic, which no one in the world has done. Or I'm going to do this for patients with stroke, which no one else in the world has done. But I need to protect it because you know what? This investor may take this idea and give it to his son-in-law, who will then copy my idea and I'll be left out of blue. Boss, please. If you ask for an NDA, red flag. That means you don't know what you're talking about. Please don't engage with me. Valuations, of course, you need to come up with a valuation. This is a business. I'm not doing a charity by giving you money, but you need to know how much money you want and how much you expect to be valued at. And if you're going to ask your uncle who happens to be a CA to use a discounted cash flow to do a valuation, that means you're completely clueless. And, I've got other things to do with my time than sit and educate you. Please don't bluff. I may not be the smartest cookie in town, but I've been doing this for long enough. And I'll be able to make out when you're trying to pull a fast one. I'm not interested in talking to people who are trying to do that. If you don't have any integrity, I don't want to talk to you. And if I tell you why I think you're wrong, that's actually to see not because I think you're wrong, because I want to see how you're going to respond to criticism. And if you cannot take that criticism, please, don't waste my time. And the world is full of wannabe entrepreneurs. Everyone says, yeah, what am I? I'm an entrepreneur. What have you done for the last 10 years? I've created 10 different business pitch decks. Have you done anything? Have you gone out to market? Have you talked to customers? Have you talked to patients? Zero. My definition of a wannabe entrepreneur. If you only have an idea and have made no attempt to implement it, waste of my time. If you show me a hockey stick curve that how in 4 years you're going to be worth $1 billion, waste of time. If you tell me you have no competition, this clearly means you've not bothered to do your homework. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't waste my time. If you've not bothered to bootstrap, no skin in the game, don't waste my time. And if you're going to use keywords like AI and ML because you think they're fancy and generative adversarial networks and blockchains are what people want, again, don't waste my time. Don't prove to me that you're an expert just because you've attended some Udemy course or you've read some book and picked up all these buzzwords. Like I said, you may be smart, but that doesn't mean I'm stupid. This is the hardest thing about coming to an angel investor. My money is hard-earned money, so we'll make you go through a due diligence. This takes at least 6 weeks. You may know a lot about your business, but I know nothing about you. And there's a process with all this stuff. What's your market? What's your business model? Are you worth investing in? How much traction have you achieved? Again, it's like a dance. You need to understand that dance. Don't expect everything going to happen overnight. There is negotiation, there's valuation. And, honestly, we don't want to run your company for you. I have enough problems of my own, and that's the last thing I want. I'm not interested in control, but I need to understand that you're capable of running this company, that when I take this check, you're not going to run away with it. You're going to keep on engaging with me afterwards. Our preferred option is what is called compulsorily convertible preference shares. We give it in tranches based on milestones. But honestly, we're happy for you to take ownership and tell us what works. The term sheet, the legalese, is full of terms you won't understand, and that's fine. Just because you don't understand them now doesn't make you an idiot. Remember, before you joined medical college, what did you understand about the anatomy or the physiology or H. pylori or anything else? Nothing. You learned it. The point is you're a smart guy. You're capable of learning all this. But if you don't take the trouble to learn this, you're going to end up hurting yourself. Learn what a shareholder agreement is. Learn what the template looks like. Don't depend blindly either on your chartered accountant or your lawyer. You need to hire a lawyer. You're not going to become a lawyer yourself, but you need to be able to understand. Find a startup friendly lawyer, use standard templates, and don't argue about where you disagree. Find out where you agree. Again, this is all fairly standard. You may start off with 100% of your company. At the end of it, you will end up with only about 15 to 20%. That's the reality, especially if you grow. And if you don't want to share equity, please don't talk to investors because you're wasting your time and theirs. So why do I invest? And investors invest for multiple reasons. There's a big difference between angel investors and VCs. VCs are businessmen. They're investing other people's money because they need to return it to them. I do it for different reasons, and other people do it for different reasons. And that's absolutely fine. There's no real right answer. And just because I say no doesn't mean someone else will say no. Everyone has different reasons. Focus on that. Whom do I invest in? And all this information is available on our website, which is malpaniventures.com. We're happy to share, and it's all there. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. I first need to fall in love with the entrepreneur. So the first reflex is always is illogical. And that's the truth. It's like you fall in love with your wife. You fall in love for illogical reasons, and then you find logical reasons for why she's the right person to marry you. And then obviously you need to convince her that you are the right person for her to marry, but that's a different issue. I focus on what I call my learning on investment, not my return on investment. I'm a big boy. I understand most startups are fair, but this is not philanthropy. I'm not giving you a check so you can burn it up. I'm doing it with the understanding that you may fail in spite of your best efforts. And as long as you put in the efforts, I'm forgiving about failure. I look for three things: integrity. You don't have that, don't waste my time. Curiosity, because the world is going to change every 2 years and you need to keep on learning. And humility. If you're the guy who thinks you have all the answers, forget it. You're never going to have any answers. Need to be willing to teach me because I need to learn, and you need to be willing to learn. But for me, the most important thing is, do you have paying customers? And if you have a customer to whose life you're adding enough value because they're willing to give you money, that's 90% of the problem solved. There is smart money and dumb money, and just because someone writes a check doesn't make them smart. But please take the money with respect. Just because I happen to be rich doesn't mean that you can blow my money away. That's the way I look at this relationship, honestly. It's like a marriage. It can be actually tougher than a marriage because most of these end up with unhappy divorces, and therefore you need to be aware of that. Again, these are basically pearls of wisdom. All this stuff is on our website, so don't fuss too much about this. But the trick is you don't want to sell yourself. You want investors to come in to you and say, hey, can I give you money because I think you're doing right? And trust me, this happens all the time. And it's fine. It's okay to follow up until an investor gets fed up and say, boss, please, I'm not interested. And that's okay. But learn to find out why they said no, so your next pitch will get even better. It's a learning exercise and process. And remember, just because you get funding from Sequoia doesn't mean you're going to work. It's going to win. It's just a milestone. That's no validation for a business. The only validation for business is repeat paying customers. Investors think we're very rich and therefore we're very smart, but we're as dumb as everyone else. And 90% of the investments we fund we fail. And if we were really so smart, then all of them would succeed, but they don't. All these vanity metrics, valuation stuff is all rubbish. It's a trap. And don't take no personally. I'm saying no because perhaps there's someone better than you whom I'm giving the money to. And I don't have an infinite amount of money. This is hard-earned money. Please stop comparing yourself with what the startup press talks about, because all startup press releases are funded by VCs who are in the job of attracting entrepreneurs. So they only talk about their success stories and they hide all their failures. And please remember, an investor like me cannot do without you. But investors, as far as you're concerned, are completely optional. You can always bootstrap. So if you find someone, great. If you don't find someone, not the end of the world. Like I said, big difference between angels and VCs. And it disappoints me that entrepreneurs don't understand the difference. This is my personal money. The good thing is it's patient capital. I'm not in a hurry to get a return back. It takes time. I can be patient, forgiving. Don't forget, I'm an IVF specialist. I'm used to dealing with the fact that most IVF cycles fail in spite of my best efforts. And also, I'm equally used to dealing with the fact that I need to be empathetic. That's why I became a doctor. I need to be kind to my patients. I need to be kind to as an investor, to all the entrepreneurs I invest in, because I know life is full of ups and downs. But it's personal money. I need to answer to my wife as to why I'm doing it. I can't just throw it away. So ask questions. When did they sign their last check? If they signed it 10 years ago and they have this one line saying angel investor, everyone calls themselves an angel investor. Everyone calls themselves a mentor. They're taking you for a ride. Just be careful you don't get cheated. Interview the founders they've invested in. If the founder tells you this guy is an idiot, he'll make your life miserable, please, it's not worth it to take money from them. That's what a scalable business is. And not every business is a scalable business. Not every business should take money. And in fact, most businesses shouldn't take money from VCs. It's only businesses which have a huge market, who have a much better product and a scalable business who are right for VCs. Most aren't. And the VC process takes at least 6 months because they have a process. They need to follow it. These are large checks. You need to understand this. So don't expect, I pitched and I'm going to get the money. It takes much longer than you ever think it's going to be. Some of the bitter truths are most startups will fail, but no one knows which startup will fail. And that's fine. And if you fail, it doesn't mean that you have failed. It just means your startup has failed. You will learn from that and become a better entrepreneur the next time around. Be prepared for your failure. Be prepared to be resilient. And the best thing is, it's a great learning journey. It'll teach you far more than 5 years of medical college, because medical college teaches you how to sit for an exam, how to suck up to your professors. If you're lucky, it'll perhaps teach you how to take care of patients. The most of what we learn about taking care of patients happens after we graduate rather than in medical college. But it'll teach you a lot about yourself. It'll teach you a lot about the world. It's a lonely journey, let me warn you. Most people say, what an idiot you are. You're a doctor. Why did you become a doctor? Why can't you just earn money and join a corporate hospital and get the check and stuff like that? And you don't need to do what the rest of the world does, but it's not easy, let me warn you. You need to find support, and other founders are the best support. There is a role for mentors and coaches, but remember one thing, there are lots of parasites in the startup ecosystem. And anyone who wants money in order to mentor you, big red flag. That guy is just taking you for a ride. Mentors, by definition, offer mentoring free because they believe they will learn from you. There's a difference between consultants. Consultants will charge you money. Investors have skin in the game. They will actually give you money. Don't confuse these. Again, I think this is true whether you're an entrepreneur, investor, or doctor. Curiosity is more important than knowledge. And we're all learning all the time. Just like you as an entrepreneur learning, I'm learning all the time. I've made tons of mistakes, and I'm sure I'll make new mistakes. As long as I don't repeat the same mistakes, I'm very forgiving. What do you need to do? You need to learn to sell. Actually, you know what? You've been selling all the time. You had to sell your mother when you wanted a chocolate. Mummy, mujhko chocolate do, I'll do all my homework on time. You had to sell your girlfriend to go out with you on the first date. You had to sell your father-in-law on the idea that, hey, I'm the best prospective groom for your precious daughter. You need to learn to tell stories. You need to learn to lead a team. It's not a solo effort, remember that. And the best way to learn quickly is in a startup. And startups, healthcare startups are dying to have doctors. So do this as part-time, moonlight, provide your this thing and you'll learn. Lots of great books. Please don't even start this journey without reading at least 5 different books. Most books will tell you the same thing, but with different prisms, different lenses. And each book, and you should read a book until you know enough about it to be able to teach someone else. Please check out this website. This is a free service we run. This is at JJ Hospital. It's called M.I.C.E M.I.C.E is not mice. It's medical innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. And a lot of the stuff which I've described is on the website. And we do this as a service in order to help the next generation. M.I.C.E Labs may not provide you with the funding, may not provide you with the money, but it'll teach you how to approach this journey. We want to help medical students to think out of the box. And this is, again, a free service. If you fail, it's not the end of the world. There's always a chance you'll get. And that's the great thing about being young. You will bounce back. There is absolutely no reason why you can't be successful. And if you want to learn a little bit more about everything I've said, then you should be able to buy this book. That'll summarize everything I've done. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks a lot, sir, for such an excellent session with a lot of practical tips. I was smiling most of the time because your tips were so connectable. Thank you. So I believe this will be an eye-opener for many young doctors who are interested to become an entrepreneur. Thank you so much, sir.